Your eyes are a gateway to your imaginations, your desires, and your thought. What you repeatedly look at will shape what grows within you. When you intentionally guard what you look at, you choose what grows within you. I know you may be wondering, how is it possible for me to keep my eyes away from the sexual pollutions around you? And I know that sometimes it can be quite unavoidable. However, the problem is not with what you look at accidentally. The problem is with the things that you intentionally expose yourself to. The problem is not with that glance. The problem is with the stare. The problem is with the things you indulge yourself with intentionally. You know, many Christians are trying to live pure, yet they see themselves keep falling into sexual sin. Not because they don't love God, and not even because they don't want to please Him, but because they are yet to make a covenant with their eyes, just as Job did in the Bible. Today, as I continue with the part 3 of this series, I will be teaching on covenant with your eyes as a practical biblical principle that can help you live pure in a sex-saturated society like ours. The book of Job, chapter 31, verse 1 says, I dictated a covenant to my eyes. How then could I look upon a girl lustfully? And this is the amplified version. Job understood that lust often begins with what we allow our eyes to dwell on. And the Bible verse teaches that lustful looking often precedes lustful thinking and sexual sin. Now, what do I mean by a covenant? A covenant is not just a mere wishes. A covenant is not a New Year resolution. A covenant is not just a decision. A covenant is a serious spiritual agreement and commitment you make before God. And it's usually rooted in an inner conviction, especially based on the Word of God. And in a world where sexual images are everywhere, this spiritual discipline can completely change how you walk in purity. To make a covenant with your eyes is to intentionally decide not to look upon anything and everything that can stir up sexual lust in you. Be it a movie, a skit, a joke, a music, or a website. I mean anything. And I know you may be thinking, what if I run into this thing even when I'm not looking for it? You see, running into it is not the problem. Staying in it is. No matter the thing that you run into, if you look away immediately, it may have little or no impact on you. But the problem is that people run into sexually stimulating content and they stay there. They stay there more than necessary. For example, let's say you are watching a movie, like innocently you are watching a movie, and then they begin a sexual scene. So instead of you to turn off the TV or change the channel, you sit quietly and you absorb the whole scene. And then you wonder why you can't seem to get your libido under control. You can't seem to get your libido under control. You see, the reason why you will walk away from that sexual scene or change the channel is not because you are not an adult or because you are a weak person. The reason will be because you have made a covenant with your eyes. You see, the reason why you will unfollow that social media account or clean out your social media space, it's not because you are a child or you are not man enough. The reason will be because you have made a covenant with your eyes. So Jesus said in the book of Matthew chapter 5 verse 28, but I said to you that everyone who looks at a woman with a lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. In this verse, Jesus raised the standard of purity from just physical activity to a heart posture. So Jesus is not just talking about looking, he's talking about looking with lustful intent. Looking with lustful intent. Now, what do I mean by to lustfully look at a woman? It simply means to desire her sexually. So Jesus is saying that you can commit adultery or fornication just by the way you look at the opposite sex and the intent behind your looking. And the intent behind your looking. And Jesus further stressed the seriousness of lustfully looking at the opposite sex in the next verse. That is Matthew 5:29, where he said, if your right eye causes you to sin, that you should gouge it out and throw it away. And it's better to lose a part of you than your whole body is thrown into hell. And this is a very strong recommendation coming from Jesus Christ, and also considering the kind of culture where we find ourselves today, where sexual activities are permissible. However, this is where covenant with your eyes comes into play. Now, let me ask you, have you made a covenant with your eyes? Or will you rather gouge out your eyes or one of your eyes according to Jesus' recommendation? Do let me know on the comment section. And this is where I end today's teaching. Please do subscribe to our channel, like and share. And until I come your way next time, have a blessed day.